When I saw that article, I showed Brooke, I was like, that's meaning what he said with the Facebook page. Because ages ago you were like, no, I'm not keen, mate. It's all good.
All right, anytime.
We're all good to go.
Yep, we're good to go.
Cool. Well, George, we've been reaching out for ages to get you on the podcast. So first of all, how was the traffic here and are you ready for Christmas?
Traffic was plentiful, mate. You know, this is far north Sydney and I'm the other end is the south side of Sydney, so I had to travel many bridges and many roads to get here, but we're here. So, mate, I got a few friends that live up here actually.
Oh, yeah? Who?
So I spent some time. from just school and whatnot. So,
that's all right.
And we go around Manly and, you know, one of them, Charlie, he's up at Mona Vale, which is just a million miles away from here again. So it's a good part of the world. Reminds me of Cronulla a bit.
Yeah, all right. Are they in that fan base that you bring to the track? Are they a part of that? They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the guys that have absolutely no idea about motorsport, but they know a guy in it, and they're like just like eyes wide open when they get to the track. They're like, wow. So it's funny. I grew up with them, so I was the black sheep in the group. You know, in the cars, and none of them were in the cars at all.
Yeah.
And here they are, they're loving it. So, yeah.
So you got to tell me, I've obviously known you from the outside point of view, like most people, and you've had a few interviews since you met me. But, so tell me about like how you grew up and stuff, because I've never known that. You know, I know your dad was a car racer, a hobby racer.
Yeah, he was a grassroots racer himself. So just like every other kid, really, nothing out of the ordinary. So we Sutherland Shire based in Sylvania there. So we grew up by the water a lot. You know, surfing, swimming, boating. You know, most of Sydney's based around the water if you're on the eastern side. So and then it's funny. Got sucked into cars with Dad. He had escorts in the early days, running improved production, and then he bought a Honda, and you know, then when I was 14, 15, I developed a love for mechanics. Never got the opportunity to drive. You know, Dad would often tease me. You know, if you do well in an exam, you know, we'll get you a go-kart, and then I'd never do any well in an exam. So we never got the go-kart. But so we sort of had some great friends. Funny enough, went to Newington in Stanmore, so we went to Sylvania High for a year, then went there. So got two different, very strong group of friends from different schools. So still see a lot of them pretty often, so which is good. So,
which schools was it? Newington and what was the other one?
Sylvania High.
Sylvania High. Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Sylvania High in Year 7.
Yep.
And got kicked out of there.
Yeah.
I didn't get kicked out. That's probably sounding a bit too naughty. I think it was advised it'd be best not to come back.
What was that?
Yeah, what did you get up to?
Well, I never got up to anything bad, but I was the kid that was always just involved in the stuff. You know, never anything. You know, didn't
caught up
didn't
with the
kick a
wrong crowd?
teacher or anything silly like that. You know, like but it just was always the kid, just you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, off to Newington I went, and put me on the straight and narrow, so to speak, which is better than I don't know, sent off to the army or something weird like that. So then finished Newington there, and that was great. I had a really good year there. That lot of really good friends and down to earth, good people. So we just had a catch up in the city. Actually, sorry, at Bondi on the weekend. Nothing's changed, you know. Yeah. So
all from Newington.
Yeah.
So they all basically don't like cars and you're just the one that races cars.
Oh, one of them's sort of into cars, but you know, and then another one's sort of into it as well. But some of them just like couldn't care less. But they're happy to see. It's funny. It coincides a bit with the Drive to Survive thing.
Yeah,
so
right.
Motorsport's just been brought to the world, basically. It seems.
Yeah.
And what now that the common folk have been educated on it. You know, now they're starting to get into it too. And they're like, oh, yeah, we know a guy that races. I was like, look, you know, I'm just a part-time guy trying to make it. You know, I'm not Daniel Ricciardo. So, they're into it.
Do they go to the track though and think that it's going to be like Drive to Survive when you turn up there? Like there's all these cameras and shit around you, and I mean there is some, but
they hype it up a bit. But
yeah. So with you're obviously we'll go back to your start of your career, but now you're racing with Gary Rogers in the Peugeots, aren't you?
Yeah. So funny. Yeah, so 18. When I turned 18, I had my first race. Which is in pre-production. I got a little Suzuki, so we've still got that car. Still run that every now and again. And then, I just was on and off. Grassroots racing club. Wanted to, drive and enjoyed it, and but never really knew of an avenue to go further. And TCR came along, and I had the right people around me, and we put it all together, and here we are racing Peugeots with GRM. So it's bloody awesome. Yeah.
You got to tell me about because everyone's known you for your orange Honda Swift, which I know I'm mixing the two, mixed two and the two and two together there. Your Civic that was known for when you got me to get you on board with that Facebook page.
That's it, mate. So it's funny, like my motorsport, the way motorsport, I approached my motorsport then changed after that. So I'm quite a private guy, like. Wasn't big on Facebook, didn't have Instagram, and 2017, if you didn't have Instagram, there's something wrong with you. So, and then it was cool to see the response that people got from my driving, and obviously at Bathurst that year in the Civic, got captured right time, right place, and Terry Nightingale, the commentator, he pumped it up. We laugh about it every time we see it, and I owe him a beer for that one, I think, still. So, it funny just ran with that. It was good to get noticed, and it's funny, like when that all came about, I was like. This isn't the first time I've done this, Like I've got heaps of in-car videos I can show you doing, wild, sending passes. So it was good. It was good to sort of then get a bit of a following and people that enjoyed.
But did your dad basically teach you how to drive, or did you teach yourself because there was cars always around you? Do you know what I mean? Because for me and like for other. Most races that you'd race against come from the go-karting background, so it's kind of like in our nature to progress in a way where you've come in just from driving cars and working around cars.
Yeah.
So how did you reckon you picked
and I
up
thought that
skill?
was quite normal until I got to TCR and went, Christ, this big kid's been racing. He's 18 and he's been racing for 15 years already. So you sort of realise the levels and to the game, and then the experience that a lot of the guys around you have. But mate, to answer your question, pretty much, self-taught. Dad helped me along the way, but anyone knew my dad. Yeah, it's. But was you're being self-taught anyway? So it's. It was funny. I remember the first track day I ever had was Oran Park South Circuit.
Yeah, right.
It was at Wakefield Park.
Wakefield Park, yep.
I can remember my early days of driving cars on track. I was 16.
Yeah.
And I just remember it to a T and loved it. I can remember battling to get a 118 around Wakefield, thinking, how good's this? Loving every minute of it. And, today's standard road cars will do 110s around, Wakefield. But
was this in the Swift that you were doing?
It was in the Swift, yeah. It was a Motorcana car that we had. I did some Motorcanas when I was 14. That was actually my first motorsport. So I only did a few of them, but loved it. And then Dad said, we'll get you a track car. And Dad was pretty busy with his business that he had going, and then his own racing. He had the opportunity to do some racing that he never had before. So he was hell-bent on, focusing on his driving. But every now and again, we'd go to the track once or twice a year, and then did track days, and then so basically I remember him on the wall at Oran Park telling me to come closer, as I'm going down the straight and trying to tell me point there. And
so you didn't have any radios, you were basically like learning the ways.
No, because apparently I was taking the entry quite shallow at Oran Park. You got the South Circuit sort of cuts in just before the first corner.
Yeah.
And, he's saying, come close to the wall, and trying to signal it while he's behind the wall. So, and then that was I remember that clear as day. That was like a 38-degree day. There was 3 cars there. That was a track day at Oran Park. There was 3 cars there, and had the whole thing to myself. And I killed the car.
Yeah.
Blew up my first engine. Might have been
As a 15-year-old or 14?
Yeah, no, it was 16.
16.
16, yeah. And then the car sat. Yeah, I only did track days for a year actually when I was 16. So yeah, then the car just sat there for 2 years until we.
It's crazy to think about it though, like to what we're dealing with now, where you're working with John and there's basically one track in Sydney and you have to go outside of New South Wales to go to another track, where you're just saying then where you could basically go to Oran Park and there's 3 cars there and that's the day.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. It was my first day at Wakefield, right, was first ever track day I was at Wakefield. There was 6 cars.
That's it.
6 cars. It was just a Wakefield speed off the street days. You pay $110 and that was it. And so like just I didn't come in, I just kept going. It was awesome. There was no sessions or anything. I just went, and then there was 3 cars at this day at Oran Park. So that's what 2008 we're talking then, and then now you couldn't build enough racetracks in Sydney, I reckon, or in New South Wales, and the ridiculous thing is we're down to one permanent one, really.
Because I'm trying to get Brooke into driving a manual, like learning what we do in a way, but she's like, it's so hard to find a track for me to learn on. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the time too, and the travel. Do you know what I mean?
And like you said, also because it's Monopoly down at SMP. So then they're like, that'll be $800 for like 4 laps, and you're like, I need a day, and I'm gonna need more than 4 laps to figure this out. Because I'm like thinking, like I do other sports like jiu-jitsu and that, and the amount of time you need and pick it up and that, and everyone's like, if you don't get it in 4 laps, that's it. It's like, well, hell, we're in trouble.
I got impressed jiu-jitsu. That's interesting. I'm a mad UFC fan. Anyway.
I'm learning the hard
massive.
way.
Yeah.
It's one of the I find it really. It's just remembering everything compared to like Muay Thai and boxing, which are hard, don't get me wrong, but it's just so many parts to that sport, and I'm just in that learning phase at the moment.
Yeah, good on you. So
are you a mad UFC fan?
Oh man, I'm a shocker. I spent too much money on pay-per-views this year.
Really?
Yeah.
And one championship?
No, I haven't got into one. I've just been sucked into the UFC and just watching Gracie Barra YouTube videos of guys getting put in, Kimuras and all sorts of stuff.
Gracie Barra.
That's where I'm training. Yeah. It's good
So-
fun because if you like that, then one championship just brought the jiu-jitsu on. So they started in September this year.
Yeah.
And so now they've got like everything from the MMA, Muay Thai and the jiu-jitsu.
I'll have to check it out.
It's good. It's good fun to watch because when I watch them at their level, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Did you do any sports at school though?
Yeah, I was a sporty kid, so this is such a private school thing. I played water polo actually. Water polo and rugby, and I loved them. Yeah, rugby. There's nothing. I shouldn't have been a rugby player, but the mighty. I was always in the E's or the D's, which is the bottom rank. And
I was the same, by the way.
Yeah.
Go on.
And I just loved it. Like, in year 8, when I first went to Newington, they put me on the wing.
Yeah.
Which is where I belong because,
no one's out there.
Couldn't catch a ball, couldn't, freaking do it.
Trying to run down the field.
Yeah, that's right. Well, before that, I'd played soccer since I was 6 for the local Sylvania group. So, soccer and then...
Start the soccer thing then. So did your dad just bring you to soccer like most normal kids?
Well, the primary school I went to, a lot of my friends played soccer, and then the soccer oval was literally 100 metres up the road, so we all played soccer. So that was the thing, and we won the funny story. I retired on a high at that point, so it was useless. Like ball sports aren't my thing, and I can elaborate on that later actually if you like, because there is a reason why.
Oh no, you can continue on that.
So anyway, we played always in the average teams, and then in the 13Ds, we won the grand final, and it was like the world's best thing to have. And I kicked the winning goal in extra time. I remember outside the box, over the keeper's head, straight in. It was a Lionel Messi moment.
Did you run to the corner post and punch it? Like
that was a bit. I couldn't do that. Shirt might have come off or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then the year after that, I went to Newington. You played sport on Saturday, so we couldn't bloody
do soccer and football.
Do soccer, but they offered soccer there. But I thought I'd give rugby a go. So And you came in just bruised and battered and horrible. And I actually sort of started – I like the game, rugby. Like it's actually a bloody good game. And then they put me in flanker.
Yeah.
Do you know what flanker is? That's the outside of the scrum.
Yeah.
And the main job of the flanker is to clean out the ruck.
Yeah.
When the tackle and then all five blokes pile on it.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell am I going to clean out a ruck? So it was funny. You'd end up just flying in at, Mach 10 and head first and just,
Did you ever get
collide, bounce off another bloke and end up getting a card because your studs are up anyway. So it was it was funny. So.
Did you ever get knocked out or anything though? Like, did you ever have any bad rugby injuries? Because for me, when I played rugby, I was like you. I was just like wobbly. No one wanted me. There was one time where I was a winger like yourself, and then they didn't know what to do with me, so they put me to fullback. And they're like, "Oh, sweet, like Dan's safe there because he's not going to get hurt." This is when I was playing D or E.
The problem
rugby.
is if a forward breaks through the pack and you're standing here, how the hell are you going to tackle?
That's what I said to him. I'm like, "What fullback? I thought, so you take the brunt when they come
exactly.
through." I was like, "What the hell?"
But basically, in this game, they're like, "Sweet, we'll just put him there." It's a trial. It's actually just a trial game for our school.
Yeah.
So like, no one's meant to get hurt. It's all good. Anyway, what you guys said, a forward ran at me. And I'm like literally like 4 foot at this point. Like I'm not big at all. And then the dude just tramples over me and just knocks me flat out.
Yeah, that's the story of schoolboy rugby.
Yeah.
You'd have some guy that hit puberty at 8. And here he's playing for the 14Es.
I remember my dad showing up to awards night and him looking around at me when we were like 16. He goes, half the boys in your grade look like they're 30. He goes, they're bigger than me. And he was like 6'2".
The schoolboy sports are a crack up. You get people that just grew a lot quicker than others. And you think they're going to be a wallaby or something next. And then once they turn 18, everyone catches up and it equals out. So,
Were you any like, you were talking about your mates who turn up to the track now. Were you a group hopper or were you just one who migrated to one group of blokes and girls or whatever and that was it? And that's, is that kind of how it's happened?
Not really. The beauty about, I was saying, like I got lucky at that school. Like I had a really good year. Man, there was like a group of 40 of us.
Really?
Like it was just this huge.
It sounds like a tribe.
Yeah, in a way. And then obviously there's sub friends and groups within that. But as a whole, we go to parties or something on the weekend. Like it was, it was just a big, good group of guys. There's a photo, and funny, I'm not in it. And like I swear I was friends with these guys, right? Yeah. So,
what did they do?
But we had this, when you turn year 11, 12, the social structure of school, you end up getting an area to hang out in.
Yeah.
And then, so we got, once the next year 12s left, we got the gun spot next to the cafeteria and next to like between the cafeteria and oval and, reasonably close to the classroom. So it had this big seating area. I think we called it the spot or something. No, the boneyard. So it was called the boneyard.
Oh, you even had a nickname for it.
There was the boneyard the first, for a bit, and then it changed to the spot. So, but there's a massive group, all the boys in there. Yeah. And there was heaps of us, and we'd all hang out, and we were all friends in roundabout ways. But I was always, I was always friends with most people sort of growing up.
What did you want to do though when you were in school? Did you always want to be like involved in cars, or did you actually have like want to be a copper or do you know what I mean? Did you ever have anything like that? I wanted to be an NRL player to give it, and I was never going to make it, but that was my dream as a kid.
It was always spot as a water boy, mate. Dream big. So.
I could still make that spot.
I don't know. Oh, you know what? Yeah. No, it sort of got carved for me. They used me as a bit of a guinea pig, right? So I was into cars, year 9, year 10, it was cars, but year 11 is go, right, the careers guy comes in and goes, so what do you want to do with your life? So, mate, I'm 16. I don't really give a shit, mate. Like, I just want to play rugby and go to parties.
True. That's what we do at 16.
Go to parties and I don't know, jump on Hotmail and message girls, That's what you did then. MSN Messenger.
The MSN days.
Yeah. So, and he goes, so I think you should do this. And I was like, I'd like to be a mechanic, being around cars and be a mechanic. And they tried pretty hard to not let me do it because, you sort of when you go to private school, it's sort of like you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor or a real estate agent or something, or a mechanic.
Or a
peasant.
banker or something like
Yeah.
that.
So the first time I said that, he said, okay, like if that's what you – and then – but he was actually a really good guy because I think he probably got shocked because everybody else said they wanted to be a doctor or something. So which is just a huge generalisation. But he got this – at the time there was like a school-based apprenticeship that you could then do. That was becoming a thing.
Yeah, right.
And it's now the rage where you could go to school and basically do parts of your apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So basically you had to do 12 units. I think I'm trying to remember this. You had to do 12 units to make it your HSC or something.
Yeah.
6 of them could be TAFE and work. And the other 6 are subject. You have to do English. You couldn't get away with that. I was always into maths. I was into engineering. So
yeah, right.
And I did design technology.
Mm-hmm.
So my year 11, 12 was the bloodiest year of anyone ever in Australia. So I'd have 3 classes a day.
Yeah.
I'd go to TAFE on Tuesday afternoon and I'd go to work Fridays.
Yeah.
Right? But on Thursdays, I would only have 2 subjects because DT wasn't on. So on Thursdays, it was Thursday. In year 11, I had it so good that I had maths and English in the morning and I was done for the weekend. I was done for the week. Yeah. So I go to work, which I did my school-based apprenticeship at Sydney City Lexus.
Yep.
And then, work there, which is basically just wasn't work. I loved it that much that, it was just.
Were you just doing parts apprenticeship or that? What were you doing there or just sweeping the floors?
Mate, I was lucky I was on the tools. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So they got us in. Toyota offered the thing, the apprenticeship thing. And
to you at the school?
But they offered to kids from all around. Yeah, so there was probably 30 odd people that, that did it. And then so you had – and then 2 got selected for Lexus. So they selected me and this other girl called Bella who was a gun mechanic. Yeah, right. And she was actually – like sometimes you think of girls mechanics, you think of just – a bush pig or something. Like, so there's nice.
It's like, where are we going?
This could be, But she was actually like quite a smart, intelligent, reasonably good-looking girl. Like, so that was a bit of a culture shock for everyone there. But they end up, so we did there, and like we could actually work with those. So they put us on the tools. We were doing the odd oil change here and there, and they had me doing a few warranty things. And
what, at the age of 16 or 17 or something?
17 you would have been by then, yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then
do you still keep in contact with her now?
No. But like we were friends at the time, but it was funny because I'd always laugh at her because all the old dudes had tried to hit on it. Yeah. And I felt so sorry for it because it was all bad, working big organisations, the politics and the stuff that goes on. You can hide there or you can stand out, you can do, And you get this, she'd always get guys offering a lift home. Like, I can drop you off home, it's all right. Yeah. And then at first you think it's been, and then Bella said, it's like, this is just getting weird. I went, I think it is weird, So it was.
Yeah, because you 2 are the youngest 2 in the shop, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and then we figured out the dudes were trying to hit on her.
Yeah, that happened in engineering. I know what that's like. I worked at Alcatel-Lucent, and we actually had to have, what was it? At one stage, it was actually one of the heads of Australasia who was in a position to come down because we were engineers in a lab, and some guys were coming around. There was 2 of us that they were trying. It was just becoming like sex pests basically on the job, and we were like, because you're really young and that, like 19, 20 and that, everything's a bit like what the fuck back, especially back then before our Me Too movements, everything. The other guys came in like, well, what the hell is got you're trying on these 2 because we were there like we're so feeling uncomfortable right now. Yeah. It's a different time, like especially now.
Being a female in a male-dominated thing, now I assume it's better, but I just remember it. Like, far out. Like,
especially how old were you guys then? Because you were at school.
17.
Yeah.
17.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So
the stigma around though what we've had other people on the podcast is obviously now. You're doing driver coaching and stuff like that with John. You'd surely be seeing a lot more females play around with cars, right? Or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the sport's become a lot more accessible, but just bigger,
as
a whole, I mean, the world
Yeah.
is becoming a bit more realistic, and women are obviously more accessible in previous male-dominated roles. And motorsport 100% is one of those. And I'm a firm believer in, things stem from the top. In Formula One, we've seen how many, women have and are actually genuinely like, it's not even a male-female thing. It's that person is
good.
Who's the
There's one
Red Bull at the strategist at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
she's the one who's winning Max the title.
Literally, she's just carried Red Bull and Max through this year. Well, Ferrari's just made an absolute fuck up of it.
That's about 40 dudes who can't get it right, and then Red Bull's got one woman who can actually make them win all the
exactly.
time.
So, but we're seeing more and more mechanics at grassroots, in lower levels.
For your business though, because you've got your own workshop, have you hired a few girls and come through, or is it how many is in your workshop now? Is it just
it's just me? So,
yeah, right.
So it's a small shop, so it's a small intimate shop that I run there. So I've got a handful of clients that customers that I just look after with all their sort of race motorsport sort of
like
needs.
A boutique automotive shop, is
yeah,
in a way?
if you call it that, yeah. So when I first started, I had the grand plan of employ people and big show and appeal to the masses. But once I realised the business model to make that work and the time and effort to make that work, and at the same time, 2 year and a half later after I started that, the racing thing, the TCR thing came up, and I'm pretty hell bent on trying to be a racing car driver while the opportunities present themselves. So I realised the energies that it takes to compete at that level, and then also try and grow and run a business was something a bit out of my capabilities. So I keep it small, cost low, and get through the work, even though it always seems like a mountain of work. But so I had an apprentice for a couple of years actually. Ryan, he was a good dude. So he Did
he help out in Aussie Driver Search? How did I meet you? Was it through Terry or also to Craig? Because you hit me up. This is how I was telling Brooke. You hit me up for a 6-hour drive, and I'm trying to remember who that person was who hit up you to get me in the car.
I reckon it was Craig.
It was Craig, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon it's Craig, because you and Craig were friends.
Yeah, we raced karting, yeah.
And that whatnot. And then I became friends with Craig. He goes, "Oh, you got to meet Hawley one day." I was like, "Oh, yeah." And then we probably met before that. And then, I had a Pulsar that wanted to run the 6-hour, then I was going to get a couple of guys to do it with. So, and then, I thought of you. So, yeah.
I only did it once and that was it. That was my one and done. That's where you were checking it out with the helmet stand. You were saying before as you were getting on air that you've only got one race helmet, don't you? And that's it.
No, I'm on to a third.
You're on to a third.
I'm on, and it's infuriating, and I should only be on to 2, but this absolute wanker of a scrutineer down at
Go on.
So my first helmet was a motorbike helmet. I had that for years.
Yeah.
It fitted me like a glove, loved it, did the job. I don't know why we need coloured, Lewis Hamilton looking helmets, right? So,
not one.
And mind you, I had to pay my way for most of my motorsport. Mum and Dad would help out a bit, but
and then
so when I saw a $300 helmet that was CAMS approved, I went, hell yeah! So we're getting that. So, and then I had to get a helmet for when hands devices come in 2015. Yeah, that carried me all the way to the start of this year until this scrutiny, and I just put stickers on it. There's some sponsors I had just put stickers on, but then this absolute dickhead of a scrutineer saw the stickers and said, "You can't, you can't have that. You're hiding something." And I went, "Mate, I've had this for 7 years." And no, I'm not hiding anything. I can start peeling some off if you want. Check them because that's some spare stickers. So, and then he just went off on this tangent. And one of them, it had a chip on it. Yeah. But it was a scratch. It wasn't chip. And he started trying to explain that the chip it's affected the integrity of the helmet, and then the sticker actually starts to affect the integrity of the helmet. I go, mate, is this bloke actually?
Is this real?
Is this actually happening? Like, the sticker gets in the gel, and I'm like, mate. Yeah. I let it go and thought, surely this guy's not serious.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, he asked me to take the stickers off. I didn't take the stickers off.
Yeah.
This happened at Tasmania. Sorry, this happened in Tassie.
This year.
And then we got to Phillip Island. And he he saw I hadn't done anything about it, and he just went ballistic.
Yeah.
And I went, mate, I'm going to be honest. What you like? I thought you having a len, but this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know. And then it got to the point where before qualifying, we're looking up RI documentation for stickers and things like that, and he's saying it's got to be put on by an approved person. I said, what bloody difference does it make? You know. Half the supercar guys put their own stickers on, you know?
Yeah.
He goes, yes, but we know they're compliant because they're in supercars. I said, did you really just say that? Like,
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
did you really just say that? And I just went mental. So I lost it. And then GRM got hold of what was going on. I'm having a war in the scrutineering shed.
And they're going, where's Jordan?
Where's Jordan?
You just hear this screaming.
Yeah, it's not a good look to get angry. I was going ballistic. And then and he just latched it. He was just, obviously he's trying to do his job, but you know, he's found something to do his job. He's latched onto this one.
They get pretty passionate, those following, like when they do
that's
it.
That's right. And they see something that's just, big picture stuff. You know, this is no different to, just because it's not painted and looking like Lewis Hamilton's helmet, it's no bloody different to, it's a sticker on a helmet. Yeah. In the simplest form, right? Yeah. And anyway, Jason Barguana got hold of it, so he came down. He's going, mate, this is actually. Then Stiffy came to the team manager from GRM. Three of us said, mate, is this really what you? Anyway, he let me out, and I had to take the stickers off. Yeah, I ran the helmet with no stickers at Phillip Island. And
what was the stickers anyway? What was on?
Oh, they're just sponsors. New Eng Kitchens, Picture Partners, MTA, all some minor guys. You know, Beaches Sea-Doo. But he helps me out. So. And then look, Alex Davison told me he's got an abundance of Arrow helmets that he no longer uses. So he sold me one for the next round. We got that painted up. It was my first painted helmet, actually.
Who painted it?
I don't know. I feel as though I should.
It's probably posted all over his social media, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the dude.
No, another sponsor, Gav Reynolds from Platinum Property. Whatever his property, he's got plenty of property businesses based up in Newcastle.
So it feels like
he got it painted by a local guy. He does Will Davison's one. His Newcastle
Crowell's Creations, is that it?
No, it's not Crowell's. Anyway, I was probably the worst headache for him. It's because, mate, I said to him, I don't really want to paint a helmet. I don't see the point. I'm a bit of a simpleton when it comes to this. I just want a white helmet with stickers, but I'm not allowed it apparently. So, so I just want.
I just love you want the simplest thing on the menu and you're not allowed it.
So you got a pub. Listen, mate, I just want a palmy, and they've got all these fancy fucking shit on the restaurant.
But you're a bit of a cultured racer. You know, you got the good helmets and the suits, and you know you look like I just don't care. Like I legitimately do not care. And it's funny being at GRM. Barry and Gary, they couldn't give a crap either. They actually probably like me more for it because they're like, mate, just put it on your head, wear it. You know, you don't need to do anything with it. So
you've got Herners golding his teammates, and they come in, it's all flashy.
Yeah, that's right. So Gary rolls his eyes a bit at that, but so I just wanted something simple, and I like blue. So he painted it, and I said, like, I've always liked Danny Rick's helmets.
Yep.
They're not lines and flashy and everything. They're like a design. They're an art, or they've got something going on. And I just want something simple. Think of Danny Rick, and he came up with this awesome thing. It was this sort of blue that faded into white and grey, and sort of like a two-tone thing, like a flat matte sort of colour. And but it was something I could put my sponsors' stickers around. That was what was most important. Right. So just a base, something to work around with a couple of little pinstripes. Yeah, I loved it. It's funny. I wish I'd have done this earlier, but anyway. So now I've got it.
Because I was watching it. I was watching you on TV, and I saw that painted helmet, and I literally, because I know you, I was like, "The fuck, he's got his helmet painted." I was like, "You're the most basic bloke."
It's funny. I looked at when I was looking at some stickers. I was actually looking at helmet designs. I was looking at Jamie Wincup's.
Yeah, right.
Because I know he's got quite a few personal sponsors and the way he did it. And everyone makes bloody helmet reveals at the start of the year. And it's like, I feel as though I should have done an announcement about this, but I'm not. So,
So I got to ask, how did you meet Craig Thornton back then and those guys? Like, Did
In Pulsars.
In Pulsars.
So
you're racing.
Sue Kyle Austin.
Oh,
Sue Kyle
yeah,
that owned
yeah.
Aussie driver set.
Did you ever work for him as well, Kyle Austin, in his Aussie?
Yeah, I leased him. I had 2 Pulsars, so I leased him 2 cars.
Yeah, to get the show going for that thing.
No, what am I talking about? I did the first Aussie driver search with him.
Yeah, the Pulsar search.
The Pulsar search.
The OG.
Yeah, the OG.
Where Luke
And it was
Crumb
just
stole his, I think it was his wife's car. Remember?
No, Crummy wasn't around then.
Oh, wasn't he? Okay.
No. Like Crummy, it was literally just Kyle and I.
Yeah, right. With 2 Pulsars.
When I say Kyle and I, it was all, it was all Kyle. But, and I'd supplied some cars. I think he had Jeff Fear doing the first. There was a mechanic on the first. I think he just had 1 Pulsar.
Yeah. And it was on the skid pan at Eastern Creek, wasn't it? Was that how it worked?
Yeah, no, that's the second one. Nobody remembered the first one, man.
What's the first
one? I might have this wrong.
No, go on though.
I have to go back through it, but like, so he did one. The second one had the skid pan, and then the shootout at Wakefield. I think. And then the shootout at Winton. No, Wakefield. Yeah,
yeah, it was Wakefield. So skid pan. Wakefield, and then it went to bigger and bigger. And then it went to Aussie race cars.
So the
first
first one he had a day somewhere, and then it was at Winton, I think.
Yeah.
It was then another day at Winton.
But how many? So it was just 2 cars? Was it yours and his car?
No. One was his and one was someone else. I didn't have my cars by then.
Yeah.
One was his and one he hired off someone else.
No, that was Crummy's wife's car.
No.
No. So that's not the original story.
No. Like that, mate. I'm going before that. Like one was his silver car.
Yeah.
And the second was just this random guy track day Pulsar. It had a half cage in it and had a seat that
and just rocked up and said you can use the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then me being the mechanic,
Yeah.
Like it was just. So I turned up. The car was full of water because it rained and all the door sills were out of it.
Yeah.
And the people were turning up and I'm going, how am I going to bail? I was going to have to bail the water out. I can't bloody do this. And Kyle was just like, typical Kyle.
Yeah.
Just fix it, mate. It'll be right. Everything's all good. Yeah, sweet. So I actually just got a drill and started drilling holes in the thing. So the car just turned into so it sort of inconspicuously sort of drained out on the driveway. But then, the wheel bearings and it was just disaster trying to get the car going. And then his silver car ended up on its lid.
Yeah, right. Oh, on the day?
On the day.
His race car?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So quick backtrack. Kyle and I met after school. I did MTA training, the motorsport training thing down in Albury. Yeah. He and I met through there.
Yeah, right.
And he bought that Pulsar when we were down there. And that was his first road car.
Yeah.
And Kyle was like your stereotypical male.
Yeah.
With his car, he's got the Pulsars was the affordable thing at the time and cruising around and doing burnouts and like I wasn't really kind of like that with cars. Like I wasn't too bad on the road.
Yeah.
Kyle just actually I'm lying there. No, I can think of a few moments now. But Kyle was just he had a VL Commodore. Did he have
Pulsar? They had the Falcon too at one point. The yellow Falcon.
Yeah, the Falcon, and then but the reason he got the Falcon was because he turned the Pulsar into a race car.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And I helped him out with a few things, and I actually raced it one in the first Pulsars made a series in 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
and like I helped him. He got the cage built somewhere, and I helped him do some mechanicals on it and whatnot.
Yeah,
and then he ended up using it for the first Aussie driver search. And this bloke called Ian Kegg, who still runs random, but he was like, it turned into like a war. Guys were just battling they wanted to win this because, what Kyle was onto with that Aussie driver search was brilliant. The chance to win a drive for really what was going to cost you, for less than was going to cost you to buy your own car, to enter. So
this is the Pulsar one.
Yeah, that's right. But the concept, what I'm saying through it. So he, the first one, he had quite a few people turn up to it, and it was quite poorly unorganised. No disrespect to Kyle, but it was just rough. I just remember people just getting changed out in the bloody. Righto, guys. Here's 2 cars. Here's a racetrack. Let's go. It was just so simple. It was like,
how many races did you have, or did they just hop in with their
their own stuff?
Oh, they brought their own stuff.
It was quite crude. My memory's a little bit vague. I just remember it was crude, The second one he fine-tuned it and he got it going pretty good.
Yeah.
So he sort of realised how to make it better.
Yeah.
So where I give Kyle a bit of credit was he just understood
The concept.
The concept, yeah. The first one was just crude, man. And then funny enough, at the end of the day, his car ended up on his roof. This guy just absolutely just forgot that turn 1 and 2 was a corner.
Yeah.
And tried to put 4 wheels over the inside curb, stuffed it up, whacked the inside fence, and the outside fence, and it just rode the wall and ended up on his roof. And Kyle was almost in tears, mate. I was broken because the day was just so just keeping cars going was just.
You're already burnt out by that point.
Oh, there's a car on his roof. We'll just deal with this, won't we? So, and you could see it coming. Was the guy was just out of control, and that's where Kyle developed the concept for having instructors in the cars and.
Yeah.
Because he literally just said, right, here's cars, here's a racetrack. Whoever's the fastest can win. Yeah. It was like it was like Lord of the Flies stuff, mate. Let's just go out, just do your worst, go nuts. And this one guy just literally, right, we're winning the F1 world title here, and just drove drove it 15 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just off the Richter scale. And you could see it coming all day. Yeah. And then eventually he's just read the wall. And there's Kyle's road car that we used to.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do the V8 race experience thing and I'm coaching people. So I see people come through the doors every day and you're like, you don't know who's going to hop in the car. So that's what would have happened with his first, season of Aussie Driver Search. And they would have just sent it because you don't know who's going to hop in those cars. Yeah. And that's where the insurance and all that comes through.
Yeah, correct. So, so where were we going with that? I think that's how Kyle played with Pulsars and then we met Craig.
Yeah.
And, so then I helped Craig because I was in the, engineering side of things. I had my engineer's diploma at that point. I understand setting up cars and tweaking them, and he wanted me to help him with his. Yeah. So so we helped him, and he actually, funny enough, he rolled his Pulsar at Winton once too. His first one ended up on his roof, and I like Craig. I got time for him. He's I haven't seen much of him lately, but his
business is going well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So his business going. He's onto a good thing there, but he's so enthusiastic about his motorsport. And he's unfortunately had a few accidents and he's been on the wrong end. Like he got banned from karting, and he had issues with Pulsars, and I think with 86s even he's probably rustled a few feathers. But at heart, the guy is actually he just loves his motorsport. Like he just wants to do well, and he wants to get good people around him to help him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to help him the last couple of years, but he's got Aaron Gretsch looking after him
and
now.
Luke Kings as well, training him as well. Yeah,
he's like he knows what he wants to do, right? And he goes through the week. He goes hard. He works hard. He's got his business going well, and so I got a lot of respect for him for what because he generally wants to do well, and he's trying, which is good.
But that's where you two will connect, because you're doing the TCR and you're having your workshop, and he's got his business funding his racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? Yeah, that's right.
But when you were helping him, did you give him advice, or were you just more of a mechanic when you were helping him?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it was funny. He was a little bit stubborn with some driving things. His technique's actually very good. Like his hand. Craig, when everything's right, he's actually fast. And that's the thing, and he probably knows it. Like when he gets it together, he's fast. The way his hand, typical go-karter, the way his hands are smooth, the way he applies steering and whatnot, and it's good. But his car control's lacking. Like he just doesn't quite, when a car's in a slide, and he just doesn't quite have that. And if anyone knows Craig, it's a bit hard to tell Craig sometimes.
It's all right. You and I can cop the blame on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. He's probably listening. So
I'm I'll just sit here quietly.
Yeah, right. And you've got to know when to pick Craig, because we all know he's got a short fuse. So or we used to anyway. So and he when he's going off, it's hard to tell him that, Craig, you're not driving good enough. Yeah, and he doesn't like hearing that. No. So but when you've got him, when he's normal and
calm down.
Yeah, and he was very open, because as I said, he actually genuinely cared. He wanted to do well. So and that sort of, it was good. Yeah, he cared, put it that way. So
yeah. And you now just basically just are friends. And does he come to the TCR races when you're racing, or do you just go to his events?
I haven't seen him for. I said he's busy with 86s. So we run into each other at the track a fair bit, when
Yeah.
the 86s are there. So
What did you think of we were talking about the Aussie Driver Search thing though? That was a good concept. I think for me, what I've said on another podcast is I think Kyle should have stopped at 86s because that could have kept the show going. You know what I mean? There was a point where
I take my hat off to Kyle with his ambition and his vision with it. Like the idea, he had it. Like it was there, but the execution behind the scenes, as we know, all sort of didn't work out, did it? So end up spending, I think in its simplest form, more money than what was coming in. So, the year before it failed, I think that's when it was on. Like he had it sorted, but once the GT car came along and all that, I think it just got the risk factor too high, and obviously just didn't work out. So, and you could just see the world is very much
it moves fast, the world, basically.
Well, it does, but everybody loves a lottery.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel the chance. Oh, for $5,000, I could race
A supercar.
supercar.
Yeah.
You're bloody kidding.
Yeah.
And
A wheel costs $5,000.
And this is what a lot of people I don't think quite understand is he bridged a gap for a lot of people in motorsport. To drive a V8 super, to walk into wall racing or to MPC or to whoever to drive a Porsche.
Yeah.
Mate, like you spend half your yearly wage on a week on a day driving, So not quite, but so it's not accessible and it's not something that average guys do. But all of a sudden, grassroots racers or guys that haven't driven race cars before could drive a GT car in a reasonably safe, organised way. He had the instructors, he had the limiters in the cars, he had things to make it work. And there was a huge gap there and he filled it. And that's what I liked about it. It was like, you actually
did it.
This is bloody brilliant because he understood that.
Yeah.
And not many people do. Motorsport's got a real big disconnect from the top to the bottom as a whole. That's something separate. But when it comes to that grassroots level, and then he gave guys the opportunity to be potential race drivers. Problem is it's just a very risky business model. And you're right, if it was just the 86s or something, but high cost Super 2 cars and GT cars just didn't work. So it was just disappointing to see. So I wasn't involved with Kyle with Aussie Driver Search the last couple of years.
You just helped the Pulsar thing.
Yeah, I helped the first, as I said, the OG, and then the one or two after, another one after that. So
With you, what were you at the time? Is that when you were getting into state racing yourself? Was it 2015, 16, or was it before?
I got into state racing back in 2011. That was my first race when I was 18.
Yep.
But I was running improved production in 2015, 16 on and off with Dad. So we had two Hondas at that point. So
did you do production cars though with a Mitsubishi Lancer or anything, or not really? Or was that just
Bob Pearson, 2012.
Okay.
So my fourth ever race meeting, Bob Pearson gave me a shot at driving one of his Evos.
Yeah,
so
right.
That was cool. So Eastern Creek, Bob's
he's a legend in the sport though, isn't he?
Oh,
He used to turn up to the track, do his thing, always in the corner doing his own thing.
Bob's the man. More money than God, and did no wife, no kid. No, he's got a daughter that I won't say what he said about it, but he he's just literally work, make money, goes car racing.
Yeah,
just loves car racing. And anybody that knew Bob from let's go back 70s, 80s, he had touring cars, Group A cars. He had a lot of Perkins cars in the 90s.
Yeah.
Once he got older, he's got into production cars and he's had everything. He's got that many cars. Then he also has a very, very cool road car collection.
Does he?
Yeah. Like he's the guy that's, if the latest and greatest rare top line Ferrari comes out, Ferrari doesn't advertise it. They call you to buy it, and that's Bob, so yeah, like.
And Bob comes along, he just gets whatever he
He lives at Lugano. I've been to his place a few times and so, check this out, Jordan. And he's got the latest and greatest Ferrari for whatever it is. There's only 4 in the country and, I got the carbon fiber roof and I got the carbon brakes and I got this and I got that and He's just ticked every box. He always gets the best of everything.
Does he get you to work on any of his cars though? Because
No, I never did. He's always got mechanics.
Yeah, okay.
There, so,
how's he doing anyway? Because I haven't really seen him at the track.
I haven't heard from him for probably 18 months, but he. I actually heard he had a health issue,
Yeah, okay.
and I don't think he can drive anymore.
Yeah, right.
I don't. He hasn't raced for a couple of years.
Yeah. Because he used to just turn up all the time. It
Yeah,
was just
I
a regular.
actually don't think he can race.
Yeah,
Might be wrong. Yeah.
yeah. So go back
So,
back to your state racing days. Did you we've had other guys on the podcast come on and like even myself, I struggled in go-karts. I was a lap behind basically in go-karts and then learnt my way through. Were you slow at the start or were you just aggressively competitive at the start and you just connected with the top 5? Do you know what I mean? And had a crack? Did you send it
I
from
was
the
good with
beginning?
what I had.
Yeah, okay.
So I was a very aggressive, I'm an incredibly competitive person when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
So, like we were talking about the old 14E rugby days.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the 14Es. I can't catch a ball. I can't pass a ball. I can't do anything. But I was super competitive.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to just win or do whatever. Like that's just hardcore in my DNA. And unfortunately, anything I do is just, not over the top competitive, but it's like, let's have a cracky. We've got a swimming race. Like let's have a go,
Yeah.
So,
So how aggressive were you in the water polo?
oh man, there was plenty of bruises and
I was
torn.
going to say they're aggressive there.
Yeah, water polo is brutal, man.
Yeah.
Water
We were
polo.
swimmers and we used to watch them next to us and go, hell no.
The chicks are actually more brutal than the blokes.
My friends are having to wear double swimmers because they tear them off the
they
layers.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all about kicking a bloke in the balls when you got to turn away and swim and.
Wait, did they do both
Mate,
girls and
we
guys?
had fights in the water.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had punch-ons in the water.
Wait, so you
because
did-
it's just so brutal. Like you were elbowing guys, you're trying to drown a guy. You're just trying to drown a guy.
Yeah.
It's so aerobically taxing.
It's full on. Like one of the girls I trained with, she was in national level for Australia. She ended up 6 months in bed on her back because someone grabbed her back and broke her spine.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah,
heavy
yeah.
it gets in there.
So it's like rugby in the water.
oh
basically.
god, yeah.
Yeah.
It's full
Yeah.
on.
I didn't know you did water
I
polo.
didn't do it. The ones next to us did. Well, because we
okay.
trained like at the level, and then they were next to us, the national water polo. And I used to just hear that, like we could see them underwater when you're swimming.
Yeah.
But you'd also hear the stories and see them all in and out. And I just used to be going, nah, it's not for me.
Because Brooke was nearly an Olympic swimmer.
No.
Oh.
I was trying to go for that level, but at the time I didn't know I was sick and that, and I ended
really?
up getting kicked out of the sport because of illness and that. But yeah,
that was
a
funny.
lot-
I was a swimmer
Yeah.
too. So that's another sport. I was a swimmer. So all growing up, I was,
Yep.
apparently I've still got the 10-year year 4 or whatever it is breaststroke record at my public school.
Still,
Yeah, breaststroke was my thing.
Yeah.
So I was always half right at that. But it was
Yeah.
funny at school. There was three of us that were swimmers.
Yeah.
I was always the third. The first one trained 8 times a week. He was just a freak.
Yeah.
Second one was 5 times a week, and I was 3 or 5. And I'd always just come third to them.
Yeah.
But when they're having an off day or we got to the breaststroke, it was on.
The breaststroke.
Yeah.
Where
So
did you swim for?
it was just at school.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did some club stuff when I was 12, 13, 14.
Yep.
But I think my parents got over dragging
Getting
me
up
around.
at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So I just did some stuff at Sutherland. Yeah, Sutherland, yeah. And then just with school,
Yeah.
I think I went to state a couple of times
Yeah.
with that. But
Yeah.
I was always a sprinter too.
I was
good
unfortunately, I was
endurance.
the endurance. I wished I was a sprinter.
So it's a funny story. I got called up for the 100-meter state breaststroke
Yeah.
to represent the school because Harrison, the good guy, he couldn't do it.
yeah.
Jordan, you're up. Right, it's time to shine. We're on it. Here we go. Watch me go. And so we're at Homebush, 100 metres. I'd only done the 50 before. Thought,
Yeah.
right, 100. So I've come out of the blocks firing, first to turn at the 50.
Yeah.
Yep, sweet. Then, about third of the way back, just the cramps kicked in. I'd peaked way too early. Just the body shut down. It was just, everything's
Yeah.
like.
Brooke's actually been saying that to me because she struggled. She was telling me that with her illness. I don't understand. So when you're doing the long distance races, does your body decide? Does your
It depends what this week. You'll be careful what you eat. So
Yeah,
I used to get cramps
you
under
like
the
to
arch.
you like to get acid and all that. It builds up quick.
And too much salt. That's what we got caught out when we were younger with Powerades. You just sit there and down the Powerades, got too much salt, and you get cramps in your arch of your feet, and then you couldn't kick.
Yeah,
so you had to learn to dilute it like cordial, so you didn't actually wipe yourself out. Yeah,
But George, can you use it? Did like any of the mental capacity that you're using in swimming? Could you use in car racing? Is what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? Like so. When Brooke looks at us racing, she's like, I don't know how you just drive into that corner, right? But in swimming, do you go like, does your brain go, I have to get to the end of the, do you know what I mean? Is there any of that pushing or is it just different?
To be honest, I can't really remember. That was probably because I didn't think. That's probably why I did the sprint, because you just go all out.
Yeah.
Right, you're done. You've emptied the gas tank. And mind you, in that race, where I tanked, I finished last. First to turn, finished last in front of everybody. I thought, you dickhead. I just sort of stopped. I just stopped accelerating. Everyone reckons it was the funniest thing they've ever seen. So, and probably because I don't know, peaked. I'll probably do this in car racing a bit. Just peaked too early. Just came out of the blocks, guns blazing, going, oh, hang on a minute, we should have maybe just stopped and reassessed the situation here. So, kind of. I suppose maybe an endurance race. Yeah. Because with endurance, it's rhythm.
Yeah.
So, swimming, I feel as though. So I used to do I did nippers in that surf life saving. So you do the odd 1K or 2K swim. Yeah. And it's just rhythm. You just had to be, loose thoughts. Not overthinking it, but you're in the. Yeah. Make sure your strokes, your kicks all in time, and everything's working. So. With endurance racing, which
like Bathurst 6 hour we're talking about now on the road, or in just
in a way, like it's literally you just got to dot your I's and cross your T's. You don't have to drive at 10 tenths the whole time. You've just got to hit that apex, look after the tyres, not stuff up and go from there. Yeah. So if you overthink it, you'll go. Yeah, bad things will happen.
How many 6 hours have you done now? Well, you haven't been done.
I only did two in the Evo. So, 1 year, the year before I did the Evos, I leased the Pulsar out to a couple of blokes. Yeah. But just done the two. So failed to meet the check flag both times with me driving.
Talk about Terry Nightingale, who got you famous. He was actually a bad peddler himself, though.
Terry was good.
I know. See,
Terry was good.
I want to get him on the podcast.
I like Terry. He was a bloody good racer. Yeah. And I feel for him because it's funny. I feel as though he's sort of he hasn't gone off the rails, but he's the kind of guy that he just never had quite the right direction in life. He's an awesome commentator. Yep. He's a bloody good driver. He's like his dad. His dad when Brian Nightingale in the RX-7s at Bathurst in the 80s. Yep. He could actually bloody steer. So Terry, one year Kyle they had my Pulsar at Aussie Driver Search. They finished early. And so I let the boys go drive, we did a shootout. So Jay Robson was there, Terry Nightingale was there. Was Ryle Harris there?
Well, maybe.
Was Ryle there? There's a few guys. They're all just thrashing my Pulsar around at the end of the day. Yeah. Which I didn't really think about, actually, because so I said, boys, let's see how we go. So they've all gone to thrash. Terry was the fastest.
Out of all of them?
Terry beat him.
Really? Even Jay Robson's also disappeared.
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah. But Terry was the fastest. Yeah. And he ran HQ. Terry ran HQs a bit back in the day, and he did various stuff, but he always just hustled to get his drives. Yeah. Did something with Dylan. Utes. Yeah, V8 Utes, Dylan Thomas. But the more he, and this is what I'm saying about his, Terry sort of just probably that guy that needed a bit of direction and push in the right direction in life, is that, he would go and lead the 6 hour. He was leading the 6 hour in Dylan's car and doing very well. And then he would something else he'd do. He'd do the Utes. He'd have a crack at the Utes, and all those times turned into what could have been times. Something went wrong. The car broke. He got caught up in an accident. Something happened. And I was doing so well. I feel as though once that happened, he was kind of like, what could have been? The world's against me. It's all bad. But that's motorsport. The harsh reality is so many things go wrong out of your control, and motorsport is just such a high and low roller. And I feel as though he got caught up in that when he was just trying to make something happen. Yeah. And now we don't see him race anymore, which is sad, because when you look at Terry, you think, Christ, mate, he struggled to fit in the seat. But mate, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
And he
He was getting fit for those races back then. Like he was committed, as you said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing was, it was awesome to have him around back in the day because he would not only commentate, but he would race and he would make it, as you said, he would shine in both.
He was a good commentator, mate. A funniest thing, listening to him and Gary O'Brien sometimes. Gary's a good commentator, but sometimes he gets his stats wrong. Where Terry was always he had a very good voice. He could read a race, what was going on, and he knew sort of the stats that was sort of happening. And I don't think that's quite. Gary would say something. I don't think that's quite right, Gary. But anyway, yeah, Cox is doing well, and he was good. So Terry always did the Wakefield Park stuff, and I think he got a bit drunk one night actually, and then might have offended somebody the next day. So I think Lachie Mansell was telling me it didn't work out. But then Terry said he hates Lachie Mansell as well. So I think there's something. I think there's something happened, and we unfortunately don't see Terry commentating much at all anymore.
What do you think of Lachie Mansell when over lockdown he ended up on TV? I was like shocked. I was like, wait a second.
Good
I was
on
like,
him.
little Lachie on TV. All credit to him.
Yeah.
Honestly, myself, I mean, as much as this podcast has taken off, I myself and probably Brooke's not interested in reality TV, but he took that step to get out of his comfort zone, which is all credit to him. Do you know what I mean? Like to build his profile for racing and he's bringing people to the sport.
He's just put himself in a good position. He's the thing with Lachie he's a nice guy. Like he always has been. He's a bit weird and quirky. He's got some quirks. Sorry, not weird, but he's a quirky dude. But he knows everything about motorsport. His delivery is awesome, and he's a likable dude. And
he studies his race drivers. He probably knows what undies we're wearing.
See, poor Lachie, when we were at the track, so for anyone who doesn't know, he was in my brother's grade at school, so he was 2 years younger than me. Yeah. And when I was there with Dan 2 years ago, I don't watch reality TV really, so I didn't know. And I saw him at the track and Dan was talking to him. I'm like, shit, I know you. Yeah. But it's been years, right? Because we're in our 30s now. And then I was like, where do I know him from? I walked away and I come back up to him. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Lachie. North Home. We went to school together. And he's like, oh, I thought you were going to say the show. So I was like, nah. I said, it's you were in my brother's grade. Yeah. He's like, oh, I remember your brother.
I remember Lachie from when I first started racing. Like 2011, even before that, he was just a little kid commentating. He just always commentated. He was awesome.
Even at school, he was doing it. Because when I told my brother, he's like, oh, he got into it and he's doing it. And he was like, that's awesome that he's doing it. Because he goes, he was always in like trying to chase that dream at school as a little kid.
I think there's about half a dozen commentators in the country that are just genuine commentators. You know, your Neil Cromptons, your Krause, your Nolte. Who else we got in there?
I like Zach Cabin. That's my preferred. He was my karting commentator.
Lachie to me fits in there.
Yeah,
and I seriously think he deserves a spot on the big table if that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah,
I think he could hold his own doing a 12-hour.
Yeah,
because he just reads it. He just understands what's going on.
But you being on Stan Sport and racing from a racer's point of view, does that help with any of the coverage if you suggested commentators, or is it not really a thing? Because he is with 9 technically because of the not married at first sight, Beauty and the Geek.
I wasn't sure if it was 7 because wasn't
I don't know.
Well, he was Supercars, which is 7.
So
but I don't know how they
when you get to that level, mate. Yeah. You don't have Paul with or say it's
do you know Brooke also
part of a system.
It's magical gods that run it.
Do you know Brooke also went to school with Molly Taylor?
Oh, no
yeah,
way.
she was in my brother's grade too. So my brother, like, there was the 2 years younger. They were like the motorsport grade as he found out as he left school.
Sydney based?
Yeah. It was at North Home Grammar, which is out at, if anyone knows the Hills District, there's like Galston and Arcadia. We were out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember this, but Mum's like, yeah, you paid for a session for him when he was 18 to learn with Molly Raleigh. And I'm like, I did.
Yeah. I thought Molly was full-on country pumpkin out in the Six Girl.
No, they were in I think my brother's at Beaumont Hills now. They're not far from there. It's out that way, yeah.
Okay. I thought she lived out Canberra way, but she did live
That's what I thought.
the Hills District.
I don't know where they are right now.
I thought she just was born on a dirt track. You know?
Yeah, I know. She's such an awesome race. See, the thing for me is it's kind of like Leanne Ferrier or Tanda, as she's known. She was a great racer back in the day, and I rate her highly because I've raced her in Formula Ford and stuff. But I see Molly at that level too, because when she raced TCR with you at the beginning, she was in a Subaru.
Yeah,
that Subaru,
absolutely
exactly. Yeah, so couldn't show her talent.
You would have been off with a production car. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Bart
but
was
Molly was good. You know.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Australia probably only has ever had 2 or 3 generally good female drivers. Molly's one of them.
Yeah. Did you? You didn't really get to. Have you only done any driver training days with her or anything like that, or not really?
No. Just speak to her behind the mic normally. So,
she switched it round.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a random question, George. What's an insult you've received that you're proud of? Because we've been talking a lot of shit at the moment. Have you ever had an insult and you're like, you know what, fuck, I'll take that. It's pretty decent.
Oh man, I probably had some. I don't know. I forget that shit quickly. I probably had one at the time going, thanks but no thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something driving related.
Yeah.
You drive too hard.
Yeah.
Probably drive too hard or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. What about when you moved? Obviously, when we were starting your Facebook page and stuff like that.
It's all right.
Oh, okay. When we started your Facebook page and you had the Honda Civic, and you went to wall racing, was that always going to be the thing though? Like was that, or when TCR? How did that all happen? Like, you were surprised already coming to TCR, but how did you think it was going to go? Do you know what I mean? Like wall racing.
Yeah. So I learned pretty early that just getting hits with a Honda Civic around an old 1992 Honda Civic around Bathurst in 2017 really didn't fly at all with Honda. So that's cool, but you're not truly representing the brand, and you're not a marketing. They probably could have done something with that in particular, but as a whole, Jordan Cox and just Honda, it just wasn't something that flew. So, and Honda isn't big on motorsport in Australia.
Really?
No, like they're in terms of sponsorship. And
so did they give a shit that Tony D'Alberto won, or they just don't care?
I think they do, but Tony's got a bit of a niche, I think, with who he's got from Honda supporting him.
Okay.
So, I think, look, definitely they would have, but you don't see much stuff. Compare what's his name, like Toyota, with Bates. It's just synonymous, motorsport. Bates, they roll with it and they make it work. Where Honda just doesn't do that at all in Australian motorsport. So I learned that wasn't really going to be a thing.
So for you in TCR though, after your first year, how did you collect the sponsors like Pinch Partner? Because you kind of just went from like the state racer and got in there via viral internet, as you're known as the internet sensation, if you look it up, to getting like sponsors. So did the sponsors come through the viral video?
It was all just a hype train, mate. Like, and I've spoken to a few people about this. Like, it was like the storm had been brewing for a few years. Like, I'd known those guys for a couple of years before, and then that year in particular, the driving in 2017, it's like, you're driving, you're trying to go somewhere, and there's a bit of a hype train, and people wanted to be a part of it, and I was like, cool. So, and it was, and there were some people that were happy to support financially too, which was awesome, because we just don't have the finances any other way to do it. That's obviously one limiting factor, or one of the biggest limiting factors to getting in, progressing in motorsport. So, but the other factor is I had no idea how to get to that, the pathway, because I'd never been down it. As I said, I'd never done go-karts, never done Formula Ford. You're never around team managers or team owners or people of influence that will drag you through the ranks and progressively get you there. Yeah. No, I just had no idea, that path. And then the TCR thing came in it got announced in 2018. It'll be coming in 2019. And it was sort of like the Jordan Cox front-wheel drive guy sell. TCR's coming, he's a front-wheel drive guy. We know this guy in the series. And I spoke to ARG a bit, and once we sort of understood budgets of what required to do it, we just went, I guess we won't be doing that. So, but then, I had a few guys around me. Charlie Viola from Picture Partners. He I owe him so much. Like he put he said, "Mate, like, let's do something. What can we do?" And once we started to, Dave Wall got in contact with me. He sort of said that, there's a drive available. You need to bring some money. And basically, I said to Charlie, I got something. He's like, "Mate, yeah, happy to be on board. We'll support you." And then obviously that wasn't enough to cover the full budget. So then there was need to get some more. So another guy chipped in more, then another guy, some other friends. It was sort of like this storm in a teacup that we put everything together and put it on the table. And so it was actually like putting out a hat almost, So, sorry. And then away we went. And then because the biggest thing that people were more interested in seeing was, how does Jordan go on a national level?
Yeah, okay.
Because it's all good and well winning improved production races and doing well at 6 hours, but that's just nothing compared to the higher level of motorsport. To me, your three competitive classes are, Supercars, Super 2, Porsche, TCR. That's where it's sort of really at, with top drivers, top teams. Do
you rate Trans Am?
Yeah, but it doesn't have the depth.
Yeah, okay.
Of those categories. So all those categories have at least 20, 15 guys that are just there to just race and prove a point and be the next champion.
Yeah.
You've only got 5 or 6 of those blokes in Trans Am.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more now, but half of it's a gentleman's category.
Yeah.
Half of it's races, which I like.
Yeah.
Which I actually think should bloody be what we're doing. But
yeah.
Instead of having 20 TCR cars, we get 40. Right?
Yeah. So there's like a rec system in the TCR chain?
No, there's not. But it's just the way the series has evolved. Is only gun drivers want to do it. All your pro-ams are turned off because there's nothing for them to race.
Yeah.
Which is a separate topic again. So that's why they race Trans Am, because you get a trophy for coming 15th.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that. There's the Masters Club. Sweet.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a feel-good story. So, basically. And then, did the first round and it was fastest in the wet and was leading the first race until I came together with Moff on the first lap.
Was this the Honda, or is the Honda your first drove?
Honda, yeah. And I was quick. Look, I was quick straight out of the box. So fortunately, I got to prove on my first outing that I actually can drive. I'm fast enough. I can actually hold my own with these guys. It was funny. I came away from that thinking I finished 3rd or 4th. In the races, and I was like, I felt as though I was missing like an edge.
Yeah.
And I obviously never told anyone at the time. And anyway, look, the next thing, GRM was trying to talk about getting the next round with Walls, and we didn't have enough finances to do it. And then Gary called me up. He got wind that I was, interested in driving further in the category, but then after got talking, there wasn't really an opportunity there. And then Jimmy Vernon was out because I think they ran out of money. And then basically just Gary put a deal on the table, said, "Mate, you can do that." And it worked with all the sponsors. There was enough finances. And I said, "Yep, sweet, we'll do it." Something that Wall Racing couldn't offer. So next thing you know, here we are racing TCR. And Gary, huge respect for the Rogers guys. They there's no free rides at GRM, but there's they give opportunities where there aren't other opportunities elsewhere. So,
what do you think of the GRM Combine that they're doing? That's pretty cool every year.
I think it's cool.
It's for mechanics and drivers now, isn't it? Is it how it works?
Yeah.
Or engineers and
the mechanic thing I'm not quite all over yet. Like I'm not really actively involved in it. Obviously trying to introduce people to motorsport and see what it's all about. I think it's a great idea. So not quite sure how that works. But the driver thing, it's not a shootout. It's not a fastest guy wins. It's a genuine go race some cars for a few days in Tasmania. You got nothing to worry about. You got no distractions. You got fast cars. You got serious cars. You've got a race team environment with engineers and then you've got Marcus Ambrose, your driver guy.
NASCAR champion.
2-time supercar champion.
Yeah.
In your ear, and mate, the wealth of knowledge that guy has is just mind blowing. Every time I speak to him, I just go, "Oh my god," So, and still a lot of his driving stuff is relevant today. So, to go and do that, and I think it's a reasonable budget to do it. Awesome. Yeah.
You had a go on an S5000, didn't you? Didn't you test it?
I still haven't driven an open wheeler.
Oh, I thought you did.
I drove Aaron Cameron's car to the grid once.
Oh, I thought you
That
had a
was about
test.
it.
I thought you had an S5000 test.
No, like we were speaking to Barry about jumping in one, but we've never really
Got to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
But has he offered you obviously the S5000 thing? Has he offered you the Trans Am as well to have a go in, or not really?
no, Trans Am. Look, there's so many drivers and cars happening in GRM that sort of got to focus on what doing. So,
do you know why though he decided to leave Supercars for just the ARG thing, or not really? Do you have a fair idea? Did he think?
Yeah, like I've spoken to the boys about it, and it's. I think in its simplest form, it came down to the budget and the resources to run it, and not so much their lack of resources. It was that they couldn't utilise their resources.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if you go down to Kitchen Road and Dandenong to the JRM outfit, it's huge. And I think there's probably some teams bigger, but it blew my mind when the first time I went there. I went, oh my god! Like there's a serious outlay of land, of property for them to put up to start a race team, right? Anyone that owns a race team, big factories, you need a bit of capital to start with to put that up, right?
Yeah.
So,
you need $1 billion to end up with $1 million.
So that's one thing. Then you got to go employ all those people. Then you got to get all the infrastructure. Then you got to get the trucks. You put it all up. It's a big, it's a big show. And they couldn't. They found that with their fiberglass department and their engineering department, they were having to buy their pedal boxes from 888, and then they had to buy their brakes from this guy. They couldn't do that, and then Gary's spending double the money than he was 5-10 years before that.
Yeah,
and he's not. It was had to buy everything elsewhere, and then it's still costing him more money anyway.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a fan of that. And I think in the simplest form, it was just getting out of control.
Yeah,
the cost. I think the Volvo days it worked very well. They had a very good team there, but once the Holden that left and the layout of the land of everything, there's many more issues behind the scenes.
So the Volvo thing he could build in house. Is that what happened basically?
They built that car in house.
Yeah.
Who's the chief? Richard Holloway.
Yeah, Richard Holloway. Yeah.
The whole. How the engines that are weighted, they've got center of gravity tests, and they've got engines that weigh certain. That all came from the Volvo.
Yeah.
So the Volvo was just basically outsmarted all the other cars.
Yeah.
So when it turned up at Adelaide, and here's Scotty Mack, giving it to him.
Yeah.
Mate, it was just out of this world. Power-wise, it was a good engine, that was developed by Polestar. But the car itself just absolutely demoralised the Holden and the Ford.
Yeah.
They put the weight down low. They got the aero right. They got everything right. And they beat 888 and FPR at the time to their own game. They were doing the homologation. And 888 were up to some tricks with the Holden. They're all up to tricks when they homologate them. Don't get me wrong. There's Titan wheel bearings and there's also dragging brakes. There's all sorts of tricks going on. Yeah. And they just genuinely outdid when they designed the Volvo, they just outdid them. Yeah. And so all the parity thing came up, and then, that all happened. And
do you reckon he just lost interest after the Volvo thing?
I think the love for it left. Yeah, look, it wasn't just the financial thing, but they could. I think Gary realised for what it was costing him to run 2 cars or 3 cars with a Super 2, they could go and have 6 TCR cars, half a dozen S5000 cars and 4 Trans Ams.
Yeah.
And because Gary's at heart is generally all about giving guys opportunities.
Yeah.
Giving the young guys a go, or giving people a go, and getting in there and having a crack.
Yep.
And he can do that with more people in a competitive base.
Yeah.
So why not? So
I got to ask you the Jimmy Vernon thing, because we've had him on the podcast.
Oh,
Did you feel any tension when that went out, or were you just like, oh cool, it's my car next?
Nah. I don't know Jimmy that well. I know of him, but
yeah.
But, it was sort of unfortunate for him, but
you're just like, sweet, offer a for me.
Offer for me, yeah. So I don't know, I don't know him well enough. I feel for him, he wanted to have a crack and mix it with the big boys, but it just didn't work for him. So credit to him, he had a crack.
He said on our podcast that he came on and he didn't have an engineer. Did you have an engineer by the time you got there? How did it all work with the TC?
It was very clunky when I first turned up. And I could see the reasons Jimmy was having issues.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough I could carry it a bit.
Yeah.
So
just due to your background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I could see the stuff ups with the engineering and the mechanicals and like every time we raced that car the first year, there's something went wrong. Like we had a problem with the engine falling out of the car.
Really?
The funniest thing, the engine would literally fall out. Kept breaking this engine mount on the back of the thing. And basically because it wasn't repaired right from when Jimmy crashed it last time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, respect to Jimmy, but a couple of times. So anyway, so he essentially the way the subframe and the engine mount was all repaired. So you'd be plucking gears and next thing you know, tonk, the back engine mount's broken and then the engine's sitting on the subframe.
Fuck.
It's like we get on the radio, boys, it happened again. Yeah, then the boys get the welder out and then rip the studs out of the rails. It was just all bad. And we had this engineer and he was excuse me, can we swear?
Yeah,
Yep.
He was a fucking idiot. We had this one engineer that's just and I we butted because I called him out on it.
Well, you've got that as a background, so you're gonna get the shits.
And made a QR. This right. So on the Saturday, I went, Dylan O'Keefe's winning in the other Alpha next to us.
Yeah, okay.
And my car is just an understeering, horrible pig.
Yep.
And real tailor on entry. And the car was all back to front. But we had Greg Crick. Greg Crick was good friends with Gary Rogers. And he was also overseeing me as well.
Okay.
So they had the engineer, then Cricky sort of the overseer.
Yep.
And I said to Cricky, like, I swear this thing turns left better than right.
Yeah.
Now at QR, you generally do funky things with setups with wedge and trying to get because you mainly turn right. Yeah. I was like, it's just odd. Anyway, Sunday morning, I poked my head under. It turns out the shock settings are back to front, are not the same left to right. He's basically looked at it counting clockwise one way and then counted anti-clockwise the other way. So there was things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say you got 10 clicks. One setting was on 2, the other one was on 8.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So I feel like you'd be driving like that.
Not quite, but it's just the way that it was very strange. Like I couldn't quite pick it at the time. Anyway, so we got that right, and it's just little things like that. And then Benny Bargwana started coming on the scene. He was a mechanic at the next round at Winton.
Yep.
Well, in qualifying, the tyre pressures end up at 44 pound. Now in a TCR car, if you go over 30, mate, forget it. She's all over probably.
Yep.
So we ended up like the engineer just stuffed up the tyre pressures. He basically told Benny the cold pressures as the hot pressures.
Yeah.
And even Benny said, you sure you want me to do this? Yeah, it's all good. And he's just arrogant. You couldn't tell him otherwise. He was on the back foot. And like this is where I learned how motorsport sort of works. It's not the driver to tell the engineer how to do their job. But, it was a bit cheeky of me to say, hey, I don't think the shock setting's right. But
don't they have to listen to you guys to an extent?
They
you're
do,
the one
but
driving,
it's not me to go check and question his work.
Oh, okay, I get you.
You have to trust what they're doing. That's why teams go on a lot about engineer relationship trust.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, I can't fucking trust you because, mate, the bloody thing, car's an absolute bucket. We can't get the tyre pressures right. We can't get the shock settings right. So I sort of feel as though I was right in what I was doing. I probably didn't quite go about it the right way, but we had that issue. Anyway, he actually had to go at Benny for it, which he then later apologised for. Barry got a hold of it, gave him the flick. He said, mate, you're not coming back. Like, it's just not on. So
What, fight him at the track?
No, I think the Sunday evening after the track. So
okay.
it's a bit hard to fire an engineer at the track. But anyway, they had another young guy that came on for the next round, Sandown. It was good, and I had my first podium there at Sandown. We were really fast. The other Alpha went backwards and we went forward. So finally we got a direction.
All right, so you swapped that. Did you get another chassis, like another?
No, same car.
Same car.
The engine kept falling out of it. Happened at Winton, happened at Sandown, happened at Tail and Bend. So, but the engineering wise, the car became better.
Yeah.
So, and then that way, that's when I learned, right, I've just got to tell the driver, tell the engineer I want more turn, when I want it, how I want it, whatever. And he sorts it out.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned how this works. So and Cricky helped me along the way as well.
Yeah. So did you ever find it intimidating though with these guys just coming through the ranks in TCR ranks, like coming from go-karts, or did you?
No, I never found it intimidating. But I made a comment before about the at Tailor. I felt as though I was missing the edge, and there was bits of my driving that I learnt that aren't right. And I learnt down to my experience. I didn't think that me only doing improved production and production car stuff, wasn't an issue. So, but I learnt that, these guys have done go-karts and Formula 4. They've done that many qualifyings. They've done that many race starts. They've done that many. They've run the process so many times that it's a lot of things are second nature for them. I still got hyped up on the grid, like, oh, we're on a TCR race on this. It's where you're just like, okay. And I'd always stuff up qualifying, if the car wasn't right, then I'd stuff it up or something. And the qualifying's got a weak point for me. I got the speed, but we just never be able to extract it how it should be. In a race, I could be the fastest car on track, no worries. But in qualifying, it's just a stuff up. So, and I feel as though that's just from my lack of experience and probably lack of
Are you good on cold tyres?
Reasonably, yeah. Like that the tyre in TCR is horrible. It's better this year, but
Well, the reason I asked that is because my experience from racing all those years is you've got to be fast out the gate on cold tyres because that's
but the problem is you can't in TCR.
Okay.
Because the tyre is so hard.
Yeah.
If you're fast out of the gate, you will damage the tyre.
Yeah, right. So how have you got to drive those things then?
You just literally got to drive to the grip.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where the good guys – and my driving style, funny enough, isn't ideal for that. So
do you have to drive in a way scaled back to go forward? Does that make sense?
Yeah, in a way. Like, mate, honestly, TCR, and most races, if it's below 20 degrees, you're not getting grip until lap 3 or 4.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. In our cars anyway. The Hyundais and the Audis are a little bit spicier. They bring them out of the tyre blankets before that race. But,
aren't they having a world TCR race at Bathurst in the next few years or not? Is that happening? Is that actually coming to fruition?
So the World Tour just got the WTCRs ended, and in place is the World Tour. So we had the short little Italian man that runs TCR come out.
Oh,
Marcello Lotti. Lottie, yeah. Good dude, pretty flamboyant. So he they announced they're going to bring. There's a World Tour.
Yep.
And they want one of those races to be Bathurst.
Yeah, right.
So they're doing it in a way. Yeah.
But is there any way that you, like a bunch of you Aussies, can go to each round, or is it just they have like kind of like, I don't know if you watch sprint cars, right? So the World of Outlaws can go to each track, and that's 20 drivers, and then the rest of them are just locals.
Yeah. So that's what they're planning. Yep.
Okay, so those World of TCR drivers will come, and then you join the pack, and then they go to the next one, and then the others join.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's like the World of Outlaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they want the cars to be able to go from Bathurst to, I don't know.
Yeah.
West Macau.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So they acknowledge that logistically that's quite involved.
Yeah.
And they're offering solutions for that. So
you got to tell me, by the way, how, because honestly I find it so confusing. The points that you have. I thought the Formula Ford points, like everyone gets confused, especially Brooke when she had to semi-win the championship. But like your points, I don't understand. Like Tony D'Alberto can finish 7th and 8th, but then still lead the points by a certain amount. But then when it came to the last race, you know what I mean? Like you guys were like within. I don't understand it all works out. It's like
basically TCR is rewarded for consistency.
Okay.
Most championships are like that, but if you have one DNF, screws you.
Yeah.
So Will and myself, and we're probably the faster cars throughout the year.
Yeah.
But we both had a DNF each in race 1.
Yeah.
The problem is if you DNF race 1, the top 10's reversed. So you're starting at the back of the grid again for race 2, but because the grid's reversed, they offer 75% points. Yeah, so you're getting bugger all points for race 2 anyway.
Yeah.
So if you win race 2 miraculously from the back of the grid from 20th, but if you run race 1, you're still going to start race 3 and 5th, where the guy that won race 1 is probably going to finish start first.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating from that point of view, and I can't say I like the reverse grid anymore. Like, if you're going to do it, just do the whole bloody grid.
I agree. They always do the top 10. Yeah.
It engineers. It takes too much out. It adds the wrong people into the equation.
It engineers
and it
chaos.
takes too many people out. I don't mind the engineering chaos bit, but do the whole grid.
Yeah.
Don't do this, this half 10 guys there, but you only get a little bit of points. And they initially reversed the top 10 from qualifying because that's what they did. They did that in Europe. That was horrible. Like nobody understood it, and still arguably now not many people understand it. So.
But when you get these European guys coming over, do they ask you like your racing experience and stuff like that? Because you say they're flamboyant, you know what I mean? And most of these guys are like, oh, blah, 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 came from, go-karting, and they come to you and you're like, oh, mate, I'm just an Aussie mechanic. Do you know what I mean? Do they get shocked by that?
No. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So, like Ted, most of the guys I've met are really cool guys, grounded, Yeah. There's pretty straightforward, down-to-earth guys. So Teddy Claret came out from France. He was a cool dude.
Yeah, right. Are you seeing any? That's the last time I saw you a few years ago. You had a girlfriend. Are you single now? You still got it?
No, partnered, Brittany.
Yeah, Brittany. Oh, so she's still there?
Yeah, still there.
Yeah, okay.
We're practically married, although we're not. So she keeps showing me photos of engagement rings and
hint.
It's like, what are you saying here? There's a ring. So, no, we live together and
Yeah. How long have you been dating for now? What, 5 years?
Probably past the dating stage, but sort of more partners. You got a partner, but 4 years.
Yeah, okay. What did you think about you racing cars though? Was it just a?
I loved it. Yeah, it's really funny. Her family's so into it now. Like, hated car racing. Her dad was sort of into the F1 on the weekends or whatnot. Now they come out to the racetrack, they love it. So they're into it. So yeah, but it sort of half coincided with the Drive to Survive thing as well.
Yeah.
So everyone's educated on motorsport now. So
Yeah,
so
cool.
Their first experience watching me was actually in a production car race. A good friend and sponsor of mine, Scotty Turner, I was running a BMW with him, and he had a corporate booth at the top. So guys come out, there's a booth out there. They got absolutely sloshed, champagne, food the whole time. They said, how good's motor racing? This is awesome. So I felt sorry for them when they had to come down to Goulburn and sit on the dirt hill once and just,
And you're like, this is the real stuff.
Yeah.
What's your actual thoughts on Wakefield Park? Because you train with BOZZO and you and him. How many days a week do you work with him? Or
I don't I prepare cars for some of his cars and some of customers. So,
but that was originally part of your business anyway, regardless of even your own workshop.
That's right. So, we've worked it, in various ways over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, but do you think in a way that New South Wales needs to manufacture in a way? Like I heard Pheasant Woods extending their track, but do you think that now, because you were saying with Oran Park and stuff, that they should be the government trying to at least push Wakefield Park before another track?
Like the demand. So I'd love to run through numbers, and someone will have it somewhere. But motorsport consumes so much and contributes so much financially to society. You think of the automotive workshops and the track days, the drag guys, and all that. You think how much money is spent. In that economy in summer, there's just so much. Like, it's got to be more than soccer, football boots, and some shin pads.
Yeah,
people are spending hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000 on their cars, and to go do some track days or drag race or whatever. And New South Wales is streaming out for racetracks. You got nowhere to run them.
Yeah, it's annoying now because as Brooke was saying before, there's literally, we have to pay $4,000 for a day, for half a day, even at Eastern Creek now, because there's no space for anyone. It's ridiculous.
It's bizarre. Like, the racetracks would be, they only seem so profitable. I think Wakefield Park was doing pretty well. I think obviously Eastern Creek's, extremely profitable racetrack. And yet you can't build them anywhere.
Yeah.
And no one, it's not an election issue, so no one up top in government says it's an issue, because they're all in street track supercar land if they are. Because that's how they're sold. The numbers work, but racetracks, it's just not. Yeah, it's not on their radar.
Yeah,
which is sad.
Does John bring? Because when I saw it at Eastern Creek a few months ago now, are you just mechanicking for him or giving driver coaching? How's that all? How does his race?
Oh, mate, mechanicking, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay. And that's Charlie.
so we run
behind.
the track. He runs the track school race team.
Yeah.
So I look after, the cars for a few of the guys in that. So some of the guys that own the cars, I prep the cars and bring them out, and then BOZZO does a bit of driving stuff, and then I'm the engineer, sort of mechanic as well. So
Yeah. What do you think of BOZZO though? Because he's done a bit of supercars himself. What's his career?
BOZZO's cool. Yeah. Like he's got a good story. He's done everything. Mate, he was a radio host at one stage.
Really?
He's a DJ. He
No
was an
way.
electrician.
No way. Really? I got to bring him on.
Get Boz on. Boz has done. He's done stuff. So he was like, not us, but older generation. He was this Kermit the Frog from Triple M. Apparently that was a thing on.
Yeah. Okay.
On
Go
the
on.
breakfast show or something.
Yeah.
Then he did DJing.
So he's a full on like extrovert party guy.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not. He doesn't drink, the weirdo.
No.
Like I've never seen him drink alcohol. He goes, I just don't like it. I just don't drink. Like whenever we go to the pub with the boys at Goulburn or whatever, he just doesn't drink.
Yeah.
It's like, how the hell did you DJ? Like, he's like, yeah, I used to play at Scruffy Murphy's, in the city. I was like, mate, that is like the most outrageous tourist club.
Oh God, I remember that. That was down the road from UTS. That was the place that, the stories I heard from that place, we were too scared to go in. We didn't know what we were going to catch.
Yeah, bloody oath. Yeah, who knows what disease you get there. So that was Boz. Boz was DJ there. So, and then he was obviously a car nut growing up. He was an electrician.
Yeah, right. By trade, he was an electrician.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he'd work 5 jobs and at a time and pay for his racing, and then he had guys. The racing thing evolved for him. He did some driver stuff with Luffy, and he always drove stuff on and off. His father was an incredibly talented Motorcarna Australian champion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Wow.
won the Australian Motorcarna title for years. Boz, I think, actually won a Motorcarna title. So car control and all that, mate, got it to a T. So, and then the track school thing just evolved from all his experiences and his skills.
That basically, I think most of his cars from Wakefield when it was there, did he shelve them there or at his house and then create track still through cars that he collected in a way? I don't know how he's busy because he's just a massive
madman. He's just buying and selling cars. He's got a problem. And I've told him this. He just literally buys and sells cars. He gets so much enjoyment out of jumping on Facebook. Oh, this looks like a mad deal. Sweet, buys that, flicks that, does this. Mate, he's unbelievable.
Do you know the story of when, obviously Wakefield Park shutting down, but before it shut down, I think one of his customers drove under his van or something, or were you there that day?
Yeah, I wasn't there, but yeah. Still to this day, the full story isn't really known, but yeah, the Lotus got caught under a van. The guy had, it was during COVID, and the guy had gone to drive out of the pits. Anyway, he gassed it up with the throttle stuck on. It's one of the two. And he's just gone, the car's just accelerated straight out as he's gone out of his garage, and Boz's van is just outside of the garage.
Yeah.
Then the Lotus is being low, is nosed underneath it, and the throttle's still on, and the Lotus is literally, the van has climbed over the Lotus.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So it was thought that the throttle jammed on, but if anybody knows engineering, how drive-by-wires work, they cannot jam on. It just doesn't. The way a properly designed drive-by-wire system works, they will not jam on. Yeah. So you could pretty much write that off, and your foot could get stuck on the pedal, maybe, whatever. Yeah. The rumour going around was the guy was a little bit – it was his second day at Goulburn, and he was a little bit dusty from the night before. Yeah, right. So –
the other story on Goulburn is through BOZZO as well, was they had the iconic Wakefield Park Bridge. Were you there that day when it got drove into?
No.
Oh yeah, it's apparently one of the teams.
Sorry, I heard about this.
Yeah,
the Toyo Archway.
The Toyo Archway.
It's not there anymore.
No, it's gone.
Sorry, no, I did hear about this. Yeah.
That was through John Boston's I think one of his driver coaching days.
Yeah. It's gone, so they didn't rebuild it. There goes. It was the most iconic part of the track was the archway. Oh, so yeah.
I've got to ask before we close this podcast though, when you with your viral Honda Civic, when you departed with it, is there a reason why you wanted to go back to your original car, the Zook? Is it called Zoosk?
The nickname is Zook.
Zook.
If you're on a Suzuki's a pretty popular, believe it or not, in the four-wheel driving world. Yeah. Suzuki Sierras and Jimneys and off-roading. And they all called them Zooks. Yeah. So just call mine that. Yeah. So That was a bit of an engineering project that I took on in that it's lightweight, and if you put a turbo to something light, it's bloody fast. You don't need a lot of power to go fast.
Yeah.
So I turbocharged it back in 2013 because I was sick of driving with 100 horsepower and everyone going past me. And it was fast, but it was just horrible. It was horrible to drive. It torque steered. Everything broke on it. It was all bad. So anyway, I thought I went back. That got parked for a few years, and the Hondas came along. We raced that, and then once the Hondas sold, I thought I better do something with that car, and turned it into what it is today. Yeah. So I went back and re-engineered everything. Like the front engine gearbox is like it's just a front solid member of the car. So and I like rules. So there's a few little tricky things in the rules that I've taken advantage of. So I've turned this shitbox car that was designed for 80 horsepower into this fire-breathing animal with 350 horsepower. So, and I knew the car could be fast and a bit eye-opening, but the reliably was going to be the next question. And I could do it on a budget. That was the important thing. I could do a lot of the work myself and do it on a budget. Yeah, because it's still quite a simple car. The engine gearbox I think cost me $4,000. Yeah, and it makes 350 horsepower. So so all the auxiliaries cost a lot more than that, but it's all just basic parts. Yeah. So that was a bit of an engineering project, and I'm sort of pretty happy with what I achieved with it.
You basically said though in an interview that it's like a 1980s TCR car in a way.
It is. It's a 1980s TCR car. Yeah. So it's actually faster than a TCR in a straight line.
Really?
So in a TCR car, it does about 250 or 260, I think, down Conroy.
Yeah.
That thing did 270.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, it does 240 down the straight at Eastern Creek, 235, 240 with a tailwind. It's all like it's pretty fast, but then mid-corner aero and brakes, it's obviously nothing like the current cars. So,
but do you try to get it out in front because it starts to shit itself and start to go backwards? Is there a certain way to drive that thing to keep it out in front?
Just keep it in a straight line. Try the torque steer. So, it's funny. I had the Nationals, the improved production Nationals in that car, and the worst thing is the gearbox. So when you're in front, you're fast, you're in clean air, you can go. The car actually races well, and it doesn't get hot or anything like that. So in the traffic, it's good. But when you're side by side, everyone's got dog boxes and all that. So when they're plucking gears, you're with the old H pattern, dip the clutch, and and then they grab an edge on you. Then the turbo winds up, then you get them back. It's a bit hard to race without a proper gearbox, but
Yeah, right. Have you done any open wheel at all? Like any?
Nothing, man.
Nothing at all.
I'd love to one day.
Yeah,
I'd love to. I'm going to do a bit more rear wheel drive stuff, mate. Because anything rear wheel drive I've driven, I reckon I'm better in that than a front wheel drive.
Yeah, right.
So
do you want to have a crack at supercars or anything, or not really?
Yeah, that'd be the dream.
Yeah, so you still.
And I've told Barry that. I said, mate, the dream would, as a driver, you want to get to the pinnacle of Australian motorsport, and that's supercars.
Yeah.
So. If I can do it.
Yeah. Have you spoken to pinch partners about that at all? Or
I've spoken to the people around. Look, the budget to start with is probably a bit out of our realm, but
what's the difference between TCR's budget and Supercars' budget if you were to gap it though? Do you know what I mean?
It's double, really, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So a top line TCR drive is like you can't even make the back of the
it's double.
Wow.
Yeah. Top line TCR drive versus top line Super 2 is double.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got 6 rounds of Super 2 and 7 of TCR.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately it's to do it properly, the budget like that, it's it'd be hard to do it. You've seen plenty of guys, Cameron Crick, for instance, run around in not the best car and have an average season. What did that do for you?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And so if you were to do it, you'd basically line yourself up to be in top equipment to have at least one crack at it in a way, or 2 seasons.
Well, look, that'd be the go. Yeah. But, that'd be the dream. But sometimes you got to take the opportunities that are presented in front of you. So, if it's the right opportunity, well, then you do it. But if it's just wobbling around doing nothing and it's costing money and bleeding everyone dry, well, so it's sort of got to work, and that can just be, that's in more ways than just driving for a top team in a top car.
Do you think though, us like obviously racing every year and putting so much money towards Motorsport Australia, that they should give some back and at least have some national funding purses like in America to keep us racing on the track. Does that make sense to you?
I don't really know how it works over
Well,
there.
So for me, because I've studied racing like no tomorrow, right? They in America especially, not more so in Europe, a bit in Europe, but they have purses for the top 10, right? And at the end of the year, you get, I don't know, 50K, 40K, but that pushes the top 5 into the next class. We're putting so much money into Motorsport Australia with our licenses, our event fees, everything. And then, sure enough, we don't even get an awards night.
Well, they're even doing that in other sports now. Like years ago when we swam, there was no money, but I'm hearing now for the top 20 in different events and that, I think it was top 10, something like someone was saying, I don't know if I got this right, like the 10th was getting like 30K a year. They're actually making money because they're going, they're doing the IL leagues over like those leagues in Europe and America, and they actually pay a salary. So it's not necessarily, depending where you are, you could live off, but it's better than nothing. That never existed when I did it. Like you either made it or you starved. Then that's why I said to Dan, you've got all these other sports doing it, but I'm not seeing it in a sport that has so much money in it.
So that's what I'm saying, because you said you're a great driver in TCR, but you want to do supercars, but there's no bridge point for you to say if you won the TCR championship, happy days, it's great, right? And you're like to your sponsors, pinch partners or whatever, I want to go to supercars. But the thing is, if we had that purse that I just brought up, that would essentially bridge a bit more of the gap for you to actually make the leap to that. Do you see where I'm coming from?
The thing is, you probably couldn't attack it that way. Like you'd have to use the opportunity of growing. You can't just take who you've got. You'd have to go, right, bigger and better sponsors, or do you have a value to a team? Can they bring some money? And that's how a lot of drivers, I think, end up getting there. It's just winning championships is crucial. Yeah, because it just proves to you that you've got what it takes. Yeah, at a high, to do it in a way. Yeah. So. Will Brown, for instance, he won a lot of championships on his way up, and the opportunities came to him. He had a bit of financial backing, and it worked. Yeah. So the thing is with motorsport, there's just no black and white way. In swimming, you win races, you're the best. In soccer, you're the best soccer player, you come with us. In motorsport, it just doesn't work like that. Mark Webber wrote that in his book. Yeah, right. Results are in no way a measure of success. Yeah, right. And it's so true in motorsport. It's just there's just so much at play, and it's a sport that consumes so much that how can you, it's frustrating not to see the money put back in, but there's just so much required to do it. So, it's you got to be pretty open-minded with this stuff. If you're trying to work your way up the ladder, that's what I've learned anyway. Yep. When you don't have the financial, if the finances are just completely covered, well then you've just got to purely focus on your driving ability and just worry about getting up in the morning and going driving cars. But if that's you've got so many other things to play at, your strategies I think are a little bit different. Yeah. So that's why and a lot of people forget that just having the finances is one thing. Like you like just because you got money doesn't mean you're fast. Basically. Yeah. Look, you look at Jack Smith. Look, got him there to the premium, but he's wobbling around the back of the grid. If you're a genuine racer that wants to win and do well, you find a way to make that happen. Yeah. And even if you got the finances or you don't, it's just only one part of the equation. So, yeah. And you've got a goal to do supercars, obviously. I wouldn't say it's the number one goal. It'd be I'd like to prove myself against the best in Australia. I think TCR there's a very good depth of drivers there, but against it'd be good to want to mix it with the best. Yeah. And supercars, mate. We grew up watching it. So it's Bathurst and. Did you have anyone you looked up for? Like, was it Scaife? Oh, Lounsey. Hated Scaife. Hated him. Hated him. Scaife was a knob. Lounsey was my man. Yeah. What era do you remember him though, from like the nostalgic point of view? Do you remember him from? Sure. All good. The Green-Eyed Monster. The Green-Eyed Monster. The double O. Gibson Motorsport Falcon. Yeah. Oh, so that was your first memory of him? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Loved it to a T. He signed my forearm out at Oran Park once back in the day when he was driving that car. So yeah, right. I remember that clearly. And he got a bit lost at FPR when he went there, and then obviously the 888. But yeah, was always a fan of Tander. Always liked Tander. Tander's a racer.
Yeah.
And race against him too.
He's
He's
a
a
genuine
racer, man.
He's a genuinely good bloke too.
Yeah, and a good dude. So yeah, he I always like our Tander too.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, you've basically made it to the end of the podcast, but we've got one more thing. I don't know if you've done your research on the show, which is called the Fast Five.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Fast Five before?
Or
you haven't got to that point.
Yeah, it's right at the end. But we're gonna have a leaderboard coming like next year. We're gonna start to make on this one, kind of like your. I think it suggested. Was it Tommy Sargent for
It's Tom Sargent leads at them. Oh no, technically from season
Cam
2.
Hill.
This is a competition.
Cam Hill's leading.
Let's go.
This is a competition. So when your podcast goes up, there will be a leaderboard on social media. And basically, you need to get 5 out of 5 to lead that board, right? But it is a multiple choice / quiz, basically, isn't it, Brooke?
Yep. Motorsport quiz.
And within this leaderboard, you still will win a prize no matter what. But the higher the
Supercars drive.
If it's over 3, you get a good price. Well, they're all hidden behind Dan's desk. So, And otherwise, if it's less than 3, well, it's something fun that Dan finds behind there.
You'll basically either get a shit prize or a good prize, but you want to aim for 3 decent questions. You know, you can or you can get 5 out of 5 and be on the top of the leaderboard. But
Cool.
The first question is, when was the car company Honda founded? Is it A, 1927, B, 1938, C, 1948, or D, 1977? I'll go over that again. Was it A, 1927, B, 1938, C, 1948, or D, 1977?
Honda's been around for a really long. I think they did some pre-World War II stuff. So I'm going to go with A.
You're going to go with A, 1927?
Yeah.
You want to stick with that question?
Yeah.
Answer, you mean?
Well, unfortunately, no, that is wrong.
Oh,
That is
no.
C, 1948.
1948.
1948, yep.
Yeah.
Was when it was first founded.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, the next one is, which former supercar team outside of Gary Rogers Motorsport competed in the inaugural Australian TCR Championship? Another multiple choice. Is it A, Matt Stone Racing, B, Tickford Racing, C, Kelly Racing, or D, 888 Race Engineering? I'll go over that again.
Say the question again.
Which supercar team competed in the TCR Championship, what you race in, outside of Gary Rogers? So Gary Rogers came from supercars. There was a few there was technically another.
Is this a true question? I think there's 2 answers here.
No. This is.
It says former supercar team.
Former supercar team. Yeah.
Well, Kelly's.
Kelly. There you go.
There you go.
That
That's
was
your
But
answer.
Stones did it as well.
Did they?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Stone ran Jason Bright's car.
Really?
The Volkswagen.
I did not know that. Oh wow.
So I get the point back of the first
There
one.
you go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brooks the referee here,
I'm
Brooke.
going to give him that.
Yeah.
He pulled you out on that one. So, you got 2 now.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Brooks the
so
referee here.
Bridie had the Golfs with Alex Whitley, and then because I remember speaking to him because he was a bit disappointed. It didn't work out quite well with them, and because I think they were a bit too focused on their supercar stuff. And then NPC ended up running the Golfs.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, it was Matt Stone was in it.
I generally thought it was just Kelly Racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, question 3. So how many? What's you up to?
2.
2.
Only even
Okay.
2.
All right. Fair enough. I'm not going to. All right. Third one. What team did my coach Barton Moore race for in the ARG series in 2019/20 before COVID? Was it A, Melbourne Performance Centre, B, Gary Rogers Motorsport, or C, Mildon Motorsport?
Milton.
There we go. It was correct.
Yep.
C.
Yep.
So what's 3?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're on towards a good prize. Oh, you got
We're on here.
technically. You could go to the top of the leaderboard. Tommy Sargent got 4 out of
4.5.
4.5 out of
Yeah.
5. So there you go. So you're close. And from season 1, Cameron Hill got 5 out of 5. Oh, season 2, sorry. He got 5 out of 5. But anyway,
Of course, he's good at everything he does.
I even made engineering ones, the questions about the Porsches, and he's like, yep, this. I was like, oh, God damn it.
How many rally championships has Molly Taylor won? Is it A, 8, B, 7, or C, 6?
I got no idea, man.
Just have a stab at it. I had to catch you out on one of them. Is it 8, 7, or 6?
Seven.
7? Brooke, what is it?
It was 6.
It was
Oh,
6.
no.
I'm going to leave Brooke to this one.
Well, I made this one easier because you were so cruel.
Yeah.
How many years was it when they had 2 Bathurst 1000 races a year due to having multiple touring car categories in the country?
What years or how
Yeah,
many
how-
years?
No.
How many years in a row
Oh, yeah.
did they have 2 Bathurst 1000s?
I know this.
When they had Super Tours and Supercars.
Yeah, it was 97,
Yep.
98.
Yep.
I don't think they did 99.
No, that is correct. What you just said is correct.
It's 2.
Yeah,
Do you
you
remember?
got-
Do you remember any of the Bathurst winners those years from the Super Tours and the
Yeah,
Supercars?
it was the first year was Paul Morris and Luke Searle. Was it Luke Searle?
No,
No, it was Paul Morris.
no, that was wrong. It was Rickard Rydell in.
That was 98. Rickard
Oh,
Rydell.
Rickard Rydell. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It
No,
was,
Steve Richards and
no, no.
Rickard Rydell. No,
No, the
his dad,
Brabhams.
Jim.
The Brabhams actually won it.
oh really?
Yeah.
Was it Paul Morris and Brabham? Or it was one of the BMWs.
Anyway, we did have those stats there, but
No, I'm a
was
mad
going
super
too
tourer
long.
nut, but Rydell and Jim Richards.
yeah. Brooke can look it up on Wikipedia right now. Right.
I've got no internet.
Because Steve
unfortunately.
Richards followed home Jim in the
Yeah.
Primera.
Yeah. So Steve, one year, Stephen, then that same year, what you're saying is
Yeah.
correct. Jim Richards won one race, and then Stephen won the
Yeah,
other.
won the- yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
it's
such
funny.
it was so weird though.
There's
As
some
a
cool
kid.
stats. Aaron Noonan, I feel as though would know all that sort of like
Yeah.
weird, sort of wacky stuff.
Anyway, so Brooke, what was it? 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, and you get a coupe for the first one because you answered. You beat me in a
Cool.
question. Brooke can do this whole segment herself.
Oh,
This
do
is
you?
just
Is that what you're doing now?
I'm gonna
Okay.
let Brooke take the mic here and finish off the podcast.
Oh, we'll share them, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we do every couple of episodes a getting to know segment for certain, every couple of 5 episodes. So there's
Yeah.
a few that have done this. It's 10 quick fire questions,
Yep.
and we just ask them, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind. And this is just so people get to know random things about you.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So 1, what's one thing people are surprised to find out about you?
I got no idea. I don't know.
That you work on your own race cars.
I work, yeah,
Yeah.
work on my own race cars.
There we go.
Just-
Yeah.
All right. 2, how do you feel about garden gnomes?
Oh, so there's something your grandparents should have. They don't belong today. Yeah.
3, how hard is the hardest you've ever been slapped, and where on your body was it?
Oh, probably in the face during a water polo match.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, from a bloke that probably couldn't punch.
Mine was my ass when I was a kid. with hoods. Okay. Would you ever risk going to prison for racing?
How much does it mean to you?
How much does it mean to you,
I'm
basically?
thinking about this. It's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depends what the offence is for. Yeah, I probably wouldn't risk it.
Okay. Brooke, you can do number 5.
Number 5, what do wood and alcohol have in common?
I don't know,
I got confused. Too.
whiskey comes from
That's what I said. What is
Is
I
in
said
barrels?
it depends how you want to read the question. That's why
Okay.
it's left to
alcohol
interpretation.
and
Yeah.
wood.
It's just left to
Whiskey, hey.
interpretation.
Yeah, I think it's whiskey.
Yeah.
I agree.
you
Aging,
go.
aging
You get-
alcohol.
You get wood after alcohol.
True. All right,
Right.
next one is, why is it okay to eat chicken but not cat?
I think you just said it.
Some people
Does
have
chicken
chicken.
taste nice?
I mean, in other countries they do eat experimental meat, but yeah.
Chicken we have has got steroids in it anyway, so I don't know. Pumping a cat into steroids, a steroid with cats, probably weird. I don't know.
Brooke, you can do 7.
All right, because we're at Christmas time. For anyone listening, this was recorded right before Christmas. What's the worst Christmas present you've ever been given?
I'm not really a presents guy.
Was there anything when you were a kid that you thought, I did not ask for this?
I got to say, I'm humble and grounded enough to accept any
Yep.
present you get with grace.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I've had a bad one.
Yeah, that's
that I
good.
can think of.
All right. What would be the rudest animal if they could talk?
A cat.
It's exactly what Dan said. I love that.
Yeah. Snobbish, like.
Yeah. The attitude you get from one.
Yeah.
You're up next at the jukebox. What song would you pick at the pub? You're with BOZZO this time round.
I'm a punk rock guy.
Yeah.
So, but I'm vibing this one song I've heard, like, Wagon Wheel.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I don't know if I've heard it.
by
Never heard it.
Darius Rucker.
No. Is it what is
Oh
it? Brand
man,
new,
it's
is it?
like a boot and scooting, you know, like it's a banger. Yeah.
And well, Brooke, you can say this one because you're the producer of the podcast.
All right, your final question. Rate this podcast on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best interview you've ever had.
That's 11.
It's 11. Oh, thanks, George. But before you go, because it is Christmas and Brooke just mentioned that.
Yeah, what's your prize?
Oh, no. Before, I'll get to that.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay,
I'll get
sorry,
to that.
sorry.
I want to know.
I'll give you your prize. It's all good. It was 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5?
It was like 4 out of 5.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So that's in the bank, George. But I just want to know, what do your family do for Christmas? You said you weren't much of a Christmas type of man, or do you have a bit
not so much, definitely Christmas, not so much presents.
Yeah.
Bit of a simple guy, aren't I? Just people, girlfriend asked what, Brittany asked what I wanted for presents. I don't know. Mum's given up asking, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sort of one of the, if I want something, I just get it, you know.
Yeah.
So, we're family.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah. Is it a big family thing though, or not really?
it depends. There's not many people on my dad's side, so there's not many men in our family. They all sort of die. So, so that is.
Jeez.
No uncles, no grandfathers. There's just my dad actually, and that's it. So I got a couple of cousins.
Yeah.
I got 4 cousins. So 2 of them are dudes. So it's good, but everyone's also scattered around the globe. Actually, one's in England, one's in America, one's in France.
Yep.
All working various things over there. So, we look. Aunties are here, so we all just sort of hang out. Nana's still around, so we just get some second cousins as well. So we just have lunch and ham and
I love ham. Hey, the roast ham.
for the roast ham, and it just lasts for weeks in the fridge. You just pick out a little bit,
See,
you know.
The sandwiches, salads. With
yeah.
it.
I tell you the coolest thing for me, I never had turkeys really growing up, and then I got involved with Brooke and her family, and I've now
Turkey's just like.
There's nothing super special. I think for our family, it's just because like my mum being the Italian there and that, they just like the big Christmases and that. And I think it's just more you've got your turkey things.
Have a turkey in a way.
When Dan had it finally, he's like, this is turkey. And I'm like, yep, welcome to Turkey, Dan. That's just turkey.
Yeah. Well, you've made it to the end of the podcast, George, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a celebration because you lasted this long.
Yes, I love those.
So Merry Christmas from Brooke and myself. And
thanks, guys.
And thank you for coming on.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.
Celebration time.
That's
Good.
it. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, cheers.